Larry King Now. I'm in Nashville with country music's newest hit duo, Brothers Osborne.
You know, when we first come to Nashville, it's pretty overwhelming. There's a lot of extraordinarily talented people here. So we just really kind of just went to the woodshed and just started writing a lot and started playing more writers' rounds here in town and tried to get better at the craft of writing a song. And it just kind of sprouted from there.
It took radio a while to come on board because what we do is a bit left of center and it's not the obvious right down the middle thing. If it doesn't align with who we are, we're not going to change the way we are.
It'll be the first time we've put a whole tour on our shoulders and our headlining, so it's pretty exciting to go out there and see the benefits of us going out and doing
There's
these
a
opening
big
shows.
difference between opening act and
Absolutely.
the tour, right?
Yeah.
If no one shows up now,
It's our fault.
And my wife, Shawn, joins me for a conversation with the legendary Kix Brooks of Brooks and Dunn.
I think some artists maybe get bored with playing the old music and the hits they used to have, but for me, it seems like such a blessing to have those hits to play.
It's all next on Larry King Now. Welcome to Larry King Now. We're in Nashville, Tennessee with the Brothers Osborne from the country music capital of the world. I'm joined by TJ and John. They're the Osbornes, best known as 2016's breakout duo, Brothers Osborne. Earlier this year, the Brothers Osborne released their first full-length studio album, Pawn Shop, featuring the smash hit Stay a Little Longer, a song that received a Grammy nomination for Best Country Duo Performance. And now the two are embarking on their first ever headlining tour, the Dirt Rich Tour, in the fall of this year. Later in the show, we'll be joined by country star Kix Brooks of Brooks and Dunn. Thanks for coming, guys.
Good to be here, man.
Thanks for having us.
Who's the older one?
I'm the older one. He's the smarter one.
And you guys grew up in Maryland.
We did,
yes,
yeah.
sir.
Were you singing as kids?
Yeah, we grew up in a really musical family. Our dad played guitar and sang, and our mom sang, and they both wrote songs and had tried their hand at coming to Nashville for many years, but they have 5 of us, so obviously they're
And
A lot
only
of
2
work.
of you are out
hands
in
were
show
full.
business?
Yeah, our little sister actually is in publishing. She lives here now. She moved down a couple years ago. Actually a very brilliant singer herself, but she's in the business end of things.
All right, so how did this happen that you got to do an album? Tell me how the record came about.
Wow.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's
Were you just singing?
that's a long
It's a
story.
long story.
Were you singing in small clubs? And
Yeah, I mean, we grew up playing music our whole lives and definitely did the small club thing. And, you know, when we first come to Nashville, it's pretty overwhelming. There's a lot of extraordinarily talented people here. So we just really kind of just went to the woodshed and just started writing a lot and started playing more writers' rounds here in town and tried to get better at the craft of writing a song. And it just kind of sprouted from there. We had some songs that were pitched to other artists to record, and labels were hearing them and were just liking the songs themselves and wanted to meet us, and that kind of led to us getting a record deal and then ultimately recording our first record, which is really nerve-wracking then to have been in Nashville for 11, 12, 13 years now, and
overnight hit.
then you put out a record
12-year
with
overnight.
only 11 songs on it.
Yeah.
That's kind of hard to do.
How did it take off? Radio play?
That's where it started. I mean, the wheels have been in motion for quite some time, but we went very hard at radio about 4 years ago, and we stuck with it. And it took radio a while to come on board because what we do is a bit left of center, and it's not the obvious right down the middle thing. But once they started coming around, well, we just don't. I mean, sonically, we're a little bit different. Their subject matter is a little bit different. I mean, every genre has a common theme that's working at that particular moment, and if it doesn't align with who we are, we're not going to change the way we are. So we're going to keep doing our thing. You know, we feel in art you have to be very genuine and honest in order to make it. I think you got to be true to yourself. So we're 100% true to ourselves at all times.
So you sing about things like?
But just real life, you know. I mean,
Or
for example,
anything, something different, or if it is something usual, like our most well-known song is a song called "Stay a Little Longer," and it's a relationship song, but it had a bit of a different twist on it, in the fact that it was really kind of the in-between. It wasn't about being heartbroken or in love. It was kind of that awkward in-between area. Or, you know, we have songs that Greener Pastures, which pretty much just talks about smoking weed as opposed to drinking
beer, which we drink plenty of
which
beer.
we do, yeah.
But we also
Plenty of both. Yeah.
Do you get political at all?
We have a tendency to get political.
You know, it's
in
hard to
certain
get political
ways,
as an
but-
artist. I mean, really in any genre. And people come out to our shows and they listen to music to forget about that kind of stuff. You know, and so, you know, you're people that work all week long and they listen to news all day, every day that just tells them things that they probably don't want to hear. And when they come out to the show, they want to tune everything out. And so that's really our job as an entertainer and performer to really think about that.
Why country?
It's just what we grew up listening to. I mean, we grew up in a very rural town. You know, it was a hardworking blue-collar town, just like you said, south of Annapolis, and it's what everyone listened to. We listened to a lot of like current country at the time, old country, old rock, and stuff like that. So it's all made its way into our sound. But we grew up playing country. It's funny, when we were doing our radio tour, a lot of people were asking us how we got into country music being from Maryland. And if you were in D.C., you know, if you just go outside of the...
Just go south.
Just go south and you'll find out. And we didn't even know we weren't supposed to listen to country music being from Maryland, but that's what we did, you know, and we're proud of it.
It's a tough industry to crack, isn't it?
It certainly is.
So many
yeah.
people want it. So many people come to
Yeah,
Nashville.
but I mean, it's probably a lot of the same in your profession as well. I mean, I think if you're good at it and you constantly persevere and you work hard, I think your odds actually start to become pretty good.
Are you a fusion of rock and country?
Yeah, I think it's kind of interesting now. Rock is really heavily infused into country music, but they really kind of have all kind of came from the same place. I mean, it really kind of started off as like country music, and then you had blues, and that kind of turned into this. A lot of rock kind of really came from blues music, and them trying to do that, emulate that, and it turned into this. Really, they're all, to me, pretty synonymous with one another.
Yeah, Hank Sr. is really a blues singer, but with a cowboy hat and with a country band.
And he's rock and roll as
And
hell.
As rock and roll as it gets.
Yeah.
Brothers fight a lot.
You would know.
I have two teenage boys. How do you get along? What's the age difference?
2.5 years.
2.5 years. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's certainly sometimes we go at it, but I don't know. I think we're pretty different in a lot of ways, so I think it works out. I don't think we don't really compete too much.
Are either of you married?
Yeah, I got married last year, about a year and a half ago. Yeah.
And you're single. Mm-hmm. You stay close to the whole family, close?
Very close. Yeah, super protective over each other. We're really lucky that we grew up with such supportive parents. You always hear the horror stories of kids that want to pursue music, and it's always like 7 brothers that are football players and one kid wants to play bass, and it's like he's the odd one, and he gets no love. But we got loads of support from our family, and I think for that we're eternally grateful.
We're in Nashville with the Brothers Osborne. We'll talk the Dirt Rich Tour when we come back. We're in Nashville with the Brothers Osborne. Still to come, Kix Brooks. All right, tell me about this tour. You're gonna see your name in lights.
Yeah, man, this is our first headline
What kind
tour.
of venues?
It'll be like kind of House of Blues, anywhere between 800 to 1,200 capacity venues.
Why Dirt Rich?
Well, there's a song on our record called Dirt Rich, and I feel like it describes us perfectly. It's the first song on our record, and it's about how we grew up. We didn't really have much, and we lived by very humble means, but we loved our life growing up. So instead of saying we were dirt poor, we were dirt rich. We had everything we need around us. And there's a line in the song, if you're broke, don't fix it, just learn to live with it and like it just the way it is when you're dirt rich. So that pretty much explains our lives.
Now, these will be a little larger venues than you used to, right?
Oh, well, I mean, we've been out on some pretty big tours opening for some really huge artists. So these will actually be some smaller venues by comparison to what we've been out on the road doing the past couple of years. But it'll be the first time we've put a whole tour on our shoulders and our headlining. So it's pretty exciting to go out there and see the benefits of us going out and doing
There's a big difference between opening act and
absolutely
the tour, right?
Yeah.
If no one shows up now, it's
our fault.
Where do you open?
Oh, so right now we're out on tour with Miranda Lambert and Kip Moore. So we're actually doing amphitheaters, and we've done arenas with Eric Church, and that's really amazing. But so we're scaling it down because we're still very early in our career. And we're super excited. A little nervous, but we're excited about it.
Yeah, it's been
You
good.
planning a second studio album?
Yeah, we were writing for that. Literally this morning, we were actually writing right before we came over here, trying to get a bunch of songs together. I mean, there's a classic old saying here.
You collaborate? You both
Collaborate.
Yeah, we
Yes,
both
sir.
do. But it's like you have your whole life to write your first record, and then a couple of years to write your second. So
I want to ask you about that too. I've never seen a tattoo. beautiful color.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, we just recently got tattoos while we were in LA.
Yeah, but that's a conventional kind of tattoo.
Thanks.
Yours has like
Some
tropical
vibrant
colors.
Yeah. So that's the Black Eyed Susan. That's the Maryland state flower.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting is growing up in Maryland, when you grow up in your town, you want to get out. You never want to go back. And I think the older you get, the more you realize where you came from, and the more sense of pride, like the genuine deep down pride you have. And one day I was like, I love the flower. I just love everything about
I've
Maryland.
never seen a color like that.
Yeah, thank you so much, man. There's a lady.
That's the Preakness Stakes. All right, we're going to play a little game of If You Only Knew. I just throw some questions at you. Favorite thing to do on a day off?
Sleep as much as possible.
If not music, then what?
I probably would be a plumber.
Yeah, but same here.
If you could trade places with someone for a day, who would it be?
Oh, man.
Oh, man, Michael Phelps, like last week.
Funniest fan encounter?
Every once in a while, you'll meet someone who is a huge fan of yours, and then they don't know who you are.
Yeah.
They'll come up and be like, "Hey, I love you guys. I voted for you on The Voice, and we've never been on The
Swan
Voice."
Brothers.
Favorite thing about getting well known?
Oh, man.
Free stuff.
Free stuff.
Yeah.
It's really not that, it's not as great as people think it is. Sometimes it's a hindrance, but every once in a while you get something free. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Something people get wrong about country artists?
I don't know. They probably get it right most of the time.
Beer.
Lots of
Beer.
beer.
You know,
They don't get that wrong, believe me.
The
honestly,
same thing they get wrong is the same thing they get right.
I would say
Exactly.
that the thing they get wrong is they think that you have to be from the South to be a country artist, and it's not true. If you take a
that's a
plane
good
from
one.
one end of the country to the other, you'll see it's almost all farm and rural. So.
What's your favorite Southernism?
Oh man.
Well, they say Mike could in the South. Like if you were to say, I might be able to do something, so Mike could do that. And I always thought it sounded ridiculous, but now I say it all the time.
Best piece of advice you ever received?
Just work your ass off. No matter what, work hard. I mean, that's where our family taught us from an early age, just to work hard.
What keeps you up at night?
Partying.
It's meant to think, what do you worry about?
Yeah.
Honestly, it's hard to worry too much. I mean, I think it just that kind of distorts, what you need to do. I think if you're doing it, we love what we're doing, and we're doing it how we want to do it. And I think having any success playing music is just crazy to me. So I don't worry about it a whole lot.
Music artists we'd be surprised you listen to?
Oh man, this is a very classic question. I always don't think of it. We actually listen to a lot of pop music. You'd be surprised. There's some amazing pop music out at the moment. I mean, obviously Adele is something that everyone listens to, but even the new Justin Bieber record's phenomenal. So just because it's Justin Bieber, you can't hate it simply because of that.
I know. It's funny. Everyone says they hate Justin Bieber, but then a song of his comes on and they start
They
singing.
just nod their head.
Yeah.
Favorite city to perform in?
I mean, other than when we go back home and we play there, it's always fun because
Where do you play? Annapolis?
We have played in Annapolis. We're actually playing a show on our tour coming up in Silver Spring, Maryland, and
that's Washington.
right near Washington.
But we also love playing like Milwaukee. The Milwaukee area has always been like
Madison, Wisconsin in general.
Town,
really, really fun. Music lovers. Chicago is really fun.
Mm-hmm. Your fans younger?
It depends.
Kind of all over the
over
map.
the map.
I mean, we've seen kids as young as like 12 years old rocking a Brothers Osborne shirt, and then we see their grandparents wearing the same shirt, which is good because you're trying to unify everybody.
Guys, you're terrific. I wish you
It is an absolute honor.
Good
I was
luck
kind
on
of
the
enjoying
tour.
these rapid fire questions. That was pretty good. I was learning a lot about myself.
Yeah.
Oh, stop it. A big thanks to my guests, Brothers Osborne. Be sure to see them this fall on the Dirt Rich Tour and pick up a copy of the album Pawn Shop. Stay tuned. When we return, my beautiful wife, Shawn, will join us in a conversation with Nashville royalty, Kix Brooks. Welcome back to Larry King Now. We're here in Nashville, and I'm now joined by my wife, Shawn King.
Yes. And we are joined by the legendary Kix Brooks, a country megastar as a solo artist, and he also is one half of the genre's highest-selling duo of all time, the Grammy Award-winning Brooks and Dunn.
And now he's taking his talents off stage, out of the studio, and into the pages of a new cookbook. It's called Cookin' It with Kix. There you see its cover, its book. There you see its whole book. It's available now, and Shawn will begin the questioning.
Now, you recently said, I'm the last person you'd think would do a cookbook, including me. So
I know, they should title
why did you do this?
what else can he get away with?
Let's see.
I know, this is the truth. I actually, due to eating a lot of steaks on the road all those years, I got interested in doing a steak show. So Cooking Channel actually picked this up, and last year I did a thing called Stakeout with Kix Brooks, and I went all over the country visiting America's great steakhouses. It was a lot of fun, and so these offers for cookbooks started coming in, even though I'm not a chef or anything. And it was interesting because a few years ago, William Morris had convinced me that I should write an autobiography. And so I got together with a great interviewer, sort of like, well, I mean, with a great interviewer. and every Monday we'd sit down. I talked about all the things that mattered to me in my life, the great stories, and hunting and fishing with my grandfather, and going through the garden and figuring out what a good tomato was, and hanging out with my dad. And, I had a boathouse in my backyard, and if we didn't have something for dinner, what are we having? Why don't you go catch some fish? And I realized, I wrote this whole thing, and I went back and read it after I got done, and I went, wow, who cares? I had this moment of humility, and I don't know, it's not a tell-all book, it's just a book about stuff that mattered to me, so I shelved it. But then when the cookbook idea came down the pike and said, why don't you do this? I realized, man, the stories in there that really mattered to me, and my life really growing up in Louisiana, just hunting, fishing, and just doing what we do down there, those stories were all about cooking.
Yeah.
And I realized that I'm not a chef, but I love to cook and boil water and fry grease, and and I've always got a grill going. And I thought, man, there's a lot of people say I can't cook, and I wouldn't know the first thing about that. And I thought, let's do something that's not 87 exotic flavors that winds up looking like a caterpillar. Let's just throw out a book with some fun stories and that maybe has some cooking people can do.
Is it fair to say that this has some Southern flair to it?
I think so, absolutely. But you've met my wife, Barbara, and she's from Boston. So it's really fun. We've been married 35 years, and the stuff that I brought to the table, she's like, what if you did this and this and this? I'm like, that's good.
There's a little
and vice versa. So it's kind of fun how, a lot of it is influenced by Barb and her family, and so it's kind of all over the map. But yeah, a lot of stories about Louisiana and the South and how I grew up and why that influenced.
And then you tell little stories about the dishes.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. How they came to be.
Honky tonk tequila steak.
Yeah, there's a lot of good messes in there, and there's a lot of alcohol involved too. Yeah, again, from Louisiana, I started drinking at a very early age. And
how old?
There's God, just.
Or are you just not going to say? We'll just.
Whenever I started water skiing, probably 5 or 6. I don't know. But yeah, there's great libations in there, and I have a winery too. Arrington Vineyards. So a lot of people are confused about how to pair wine and food and that kind of stuff, which it really makes. Yeah. There's just a lot of suggestions in there, and so that's kind of fun.
This should be a fun book. Probably do very well. So. My wife loves cookbooks.
I collect cookbooks.
Oh, really?
So when I saw this, I'm like, this is.
Well, I'll write all over that before
I already love you, and I love you more now with this.
Fun.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, just veering off a second.
Okay, go.
Kix is a breakfast cereal. How do you name Kix?
My mom
was eating Kix. No, I'm sorry.
She was, it's actually much more organic than that. Like 2 weeks before I was born. I don't know about you, but like having my head between my knees for 9 months was long enough. So I started trying to bust out of there, and she's like, she'd had enough, and she branded me.
Kix.
I don't know why there aren't more kids named Kix. Doesn't everybody do that?
Absolutely. No, I think we used to look at Chance's feet. Literally, a footprint would come out of my stomach.
And so would you name him? Alien. What?
That's what they look like. Yes, absolutely. So you could have been Alien, and luckily you were named Kix.
I was just kicking, yeah.
Well, that was good. That was prudent of your mother to go with Kix. Not Alien.
Why don't we see a food empire? We see Kix Brooks restaurants.
Something else I know nothing about.
Willie Nelson has those Texan places,
right?
Yeah,
and it's possible. It's very, very possible. We'll see. One thing at a time.
Yeah.
What's the story of your relationship with Mr. Dunn?
With Ronnie?
Yeah, you're back, you're forth, you're together, you're
We
not
saw
together.
you just a
Yeah.
couple months ago.
Yeah.
In
We're
Arizona.
brothers,
You were
I
great.
think is the best way to describe me and Mr. Dunn. You know, of course, we met completely out of the blue. You know, we met on
How?
a Tuesday. A record company guy, you know, convinced us that we should be a duo. And on a Tuesday over an enchilada, it was the day I met him, and we were like, we don't know each other. I mean, this is just silly, Tim. And he's like, both you guys are good writers, man, and I love what you, just do me a favor, just as songwriters, get together and see if you can just hit it off. And we wrote Brand New Man that Thursday and a song called Next Broken Heart Friday, and they were our first 2 #1 records. Ronnie had already written Neon Moon and Boot Scootin' Boogie, so we have 4 #1 records in a row. And we still don't know each other. And we're just, you know, for 20 years, we were on a bus trying to figure out how to get off it. You know, this has to end. And it just kept going. It was weird.
You broke up for a while, didn't you?
Well, after 20 years, we said, you know, this is a good time to, you know, we're getting at that point in our lives where I was interested in doing a lot of things. And I know both of us are going, Ronnie, for sure, like, I want to make a record without having to look over my shoulder. I go, I totally get it. Go do it, man. And it's like he's doing now, but I don't even know how long he's been working on this project he's got out now, but he's always been making music, and I've made 5 movies in the meantime, and, you know, doing the winery, this cooking show, and just fun stuff that you can't do when you're touring. And we had such a big family as far as our band and crew. We didn't want to lose them. So we never stopped until we said, let's take a break. And then Vegas came along 5 years later and go, hey, you want to sing these songs again? And we're like, if Reba will do it.
And then you're back.
And here we go.
Our final moments from Nashville with Kix Brooks when we return.
Back with our final moments of our trip to Nashville, Larry and Shawn King. This is Larry King now. We're with Kix Brooks. The book is Cookin' It with Kix. Great book, great idea. Shawn will be cooking it with Kix as soon as she returns
It's going to be
to
fun.
Los
I smell a
Angeles.
cooking show.
I smell it coming on right now.
You wanted to ask him about Vegas, right?
I did. Well, you and Ronnie are joining Reba in Vegas.
Yeah.
So you just talked about it before the break.
We have joined Reba. We've actually done a whole year out there.
You have, and
Yeah,
that's how far
we
behind
have.
it I am.
Yeah. And where have you been?
We come
You
to
know,
see
every
you.
night I keep thinking y'all are going to show up backstage.
We'll be
We're in
there.
Vegas in 2 weeks.
Back in December.
Oh, you're back in December?
Uh-huh.
All right.
Yep. And
I'm writing it down.
We just got renewed for a bunch more shows. So who knows? It's funny. They did the Born premiere on our stage there at Caesars at the Coliseum, and I sat next to Marie Osmond. I go, and they're right across the street, her and Donnie at the Harris. I go, so how's your gig going over there? She goes, you know, we came in for a 6-week gig, and this is 9 years now.
Her father set that up.
Yeah.
He did that deal.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So I said, well, who knows? Because it's...
What hotel are you, Caesars?
Yeah, we're at Caesars at the Coliseum. That
That's a
room
great
Celine
room.
built. It's a great room.
Oh, it's
yeah.
a fantastic room.
Yeah, we're having a ball. It really is. It's a lot of fun. And, you know, from the time we do our first couple of opening numbers and then it's game on.
Yeah.
You know, and somebody's going to throw the first rock and then and having Reba between us, it's
You
awesome.
go on with her, too?
Oh, yeah.
What's she like to work with in the mix?
Super fun. And
Yeah.
you know Reba, she's just fun.
Crazy.
Yeah, she's really
Crazy
good.
fun.
She's an old pro, and we're all kind of at that point to where we've got our shoulders dropped, and we like surprises. So it's been a lot of off the cuff, really fun and funny stuff for us.
You always have fun on stage?
Yes, yeah,
Has
I really
to be
do.
fun to you, right?
It is. It's great. It's great, and especially, you know, it is. This show is put together with pretty much just hits. You know, we sort of, when you're trying to figure out, she's 40 years now, her career. Ronnie and I are 25.
Wow.
And you just look back at all the songs and all the tours, and we've done a lot of touring with her, trying to put together 2 hours of what's the best way to do this. Has been a real challenge, but it is just kind of, we said, let's just pack this thing full of hits. And then if we want to pull something out, you know, out of the weeds, we can. But man, I look at that set list every night, and as those songs come up, I just grin going, wow, Yeah, I remember that. And, you know, I think it's the same way for the fans. It just brings up so many memories. People love, it's not just nostalgia, it's those memories that songs bring to our lives. And, you know, I think some artists maybe get bored with playing the old music and the hits they used to have, but for me, it seems like such a blessing to have those hits to play.
That's a great way to look at it. It's
You
not
live here?
dated.
I do, yeah. Moved here in '79 and wrote songs for a living for 10 years and then met Mr. Dunn.
Did you come here with the idea of just being a songwriter, or did you want to perform?
Well, performing just kind of goes with the territory. I think all songwriters are performers at heart, but I really wanted to be a professional songwriter. It was, you know, I really admired Christopherson and Willie, all the Guy Clark, all those guys were my heroes. And the fact that Roger Miller, the fact that they had careers as, oh, wasn't he great? As vocalist, you know, it's almost a sidebar for them. But they created that great music, and I hesitate even mentioning what I do in the same sentence as talking about those guys, because I don't feel like I've ever reached as a songwriter that level. But I think you just, you know, we're all blessed with a certain amount of talent, and finding, you know, kind of what you're good at and enjoying that is sort of part of finding satisfaction in life, you know.
Do you cook all the time?
I do. You know, you got to eat.
Somebody's got to cook it.
Somebody's got to do it. It's fun. That's the whole point of that thing, is don't open a soup can.
That's
you
right.
know? Go to the grocery store, have a little fun, go, what the heck is this?
Yeah.
And then go home and cook it.
I can't wait to cook it. We're
Hey,
gonna
and
go
you're not
home
going to
and I'm
screw
gonna
it.
cook
Chicken's cheap. Just keep trying.
Chicken's cheap. to quote
Say goodnight, Shawn.
Kix, chicken is cheap. Just keep doing it. Thanks to our guest, Kix Brooks. Be sure to pick up a copy of his new cookbook, Cookin' It with Kix, available now.
Also, a special thanks to my earlier guest, Brothers Osborne. As always, you can find me on Twitter at King's Things.
And you can find me at Shawny Aura. And we'll see you